Just talk about that. Just talk about that.
So I'm sitting here with Jayson Warner Smith. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
I watched your panel, incredibly interesting. I've seen a lot of panels. And you somehow managed to keep it fresh. I don't know how you guys do it. What do you do? What's the secret to being fresh and interesting in a panel when you have to do a ton of them over time? Does it?
Well, you do tell the same stories over and over again, but you're telling it for a new crowd. It's no different than doing a play. You do the same show 6, 7, 8 times a week, and it's the same lines every night. And the interesting thing about this is a little bit off of what you're talking about, but I was talking to friends of mine who are also actors, and they're like, "Isn't that just like? Don't you feel like a whore when you go to these things?"
Sycophant.
Yeah, you're sitting there at the table and you're taking people's money and you're shaking their hands and giving them an autograph. And I said, well, at first I thought I didn't like it, but then I realized I'm an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of entertaining 50 to 100 people to 300 people in a theater, or on a show like The Walking Dead, of millions of people at a time, I'm entertaining them one at a time.
Yeah.
And it's a transaction that takes place one at a time because they enjoy it, or they wouldn't come up and do it. Nobody's forcing them to do it, and it's an entertainment experience for them. It's a little different than a usual one.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I have to look at it. And the panel is the same thing. It's like, yeah, I've told these stories, I've answered these questions a dozen times before. Maybe I've got a new story this time, or a little spin on it, or something new I thought of.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy it. It's
fun with it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And I'm a performer. I enjoy being in front of a crowd.
And actually, I noticed that, it should be noted that, when you're telling, you may experience the prospect of the act of telling a story over and over again, but for the casual person who just comes out and buys a ticket and comes to a con like this, to them it's, wow, this is neat, and they get to see you, so they're not jaded in that way.
No.
So most people you meet are like, wow, and it's just a constant wow,
Sure.
And
unless they come to a lot of them, I guess. But
yeah. And it's important. It's outreach. It builds a connection between you and the fans who follow your work, and it becomes symbiotic. Hopefully, over time.
Yeah. Did you see the documentary? I forgot who put it together, but it was right after Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds died, one after the other. Do you remember that? Carrie Fisher died and her mom died the next day.
HBO or something? It was a big deal. Yeah.
And I forgot the name of it now.
Okay.
But I watched it. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it. And a good friend of theirs, who's also an actor, made the thing. And Carrie Fisher avoided the convention circuit for years. And I think somebody finally said, you would make a lot of money if you would go to one of these things. And she's like, fine. So she started going, and she did them, but she was not a fan of them. She called them the lap dance.
So for Carrie Fisher.
Time to go to the lap dance. Let's go. Here we go. And that's, and it's a one-on-one experience with the fans, and it's not always fun. There are some people that just hang around and ask silly questions for a long time, and you you don't want to answer, but you do.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, it's fun. 90% of the time, it's kind of fun. You get to meet people, and they ask you the same things over and over again. They tell you the same things over and over again, but it's fun. And I know that this won't last forever. Eventually, I won't be getting invited to these anymore because I won't be popular, unless I get on some other sci-fi show.
You can always do the catering.
Yeah, these brownie squares are good. So yeah.
Actually, sorry, trying to stay focused.
I'm gonna put on some weight to this thing.
No, I kind of hijacked your panel because I had just a billion questions.
Dude, you made it work. Actually, thank you.
I read about your acting because I was surprised to hear that this guy teaches acting, and you said something. You were comparing stage acting to cinema acting, and it was, you said, look, I don't have to yell across the auditorium. I don't have to emote as much because the camera's in my face and I'm mic'd and there's a camera above me.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing mostly.
Yeah.
And so you're saying this is the difference between that and that. This other thing on stage, I have to do it for this long, and on cinema, it's just I do it and I go. But then it's got its own issues, its own trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So I really I was so interested in that because I didn't realize you forget. Where people start, you see them on TV, so you just think TV. You don't realize that they have an arc of their own. And your arc is interesting, and I don't know. I read especially the thing about how you went to, remember I mentioned you went to LA and you
Yeah.
came back, and,
Yeah.
and how that informed your decision making and how that made you, I think, just uniquely you for the roles that you're playing now.
Well, I'm glad you see. I had never thought about that, but maybe it has. It has made me who I am today. Obviously,
It has
we
to.
are kind of a sum of our past.
I actually, the Walking Dead. I don't think you actually said in the panel, because I was so focused on my questions. But how did that come about? Like, can you touch upon that again, even if you did mention the panel? Because
How I got on the show?
yeah, like what was the story? Because obviously it was for a time it was the biggest show in North America, biggest drama, and then you get the call, and it must just like what the
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew. I tell you what, the guy, Josh Michael, a friend of mine who plays Jared, the long-haired savior that everybody loves to hate.
Yeah.
He and I knew each other before the show started, but we weren't like close. And then, of course, being on the show together, we became much closer friends now. After we both did our second episode, we were all talking on the phone, and we're like, dude, anything after this is just gravy. Most people are dead by now, and they're keeping us around to tell some more of their stories. So every time we get called, I'd say, dude, I just got called in. He goes, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do the one after that, because they separated us in the next season, so we were just keeping up. And he ended up doing more episodes than I did, because of just the way the story was being told. It might have been where he was just hanging around, but he was there, and he got to work. And I don't know where we're going. What my story to getting on the show, I guess, right? Is that
Yeah.
what
How
we're
do
saying?
you like score that?
Well, I mean, I auditioned for the show every season except season 1.
Okay.
And then I don't think I auditioned for season 1. I don't remember auditioning for season 1. And then I auditioned maybe once or twice every season. I got a chance at it. And there's a person called a casting director that is in charge of helping cast film and television shows, and film and theater as well. But and the local casting director for The Walking Dead is a woman named Lisa Mae Fincannon. And I've worked on a lot of movies and TV shows that she helped me get cast in. She has her husband Craig and his brother Mark, and they're like the Fincannons. And they were working with Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas, who were in the LA casting office for The Walking Dead. So they're handling kind of the bigger cast out there, and then she's handling the local casting in Atlanta, but they always talk. And so I would audition and audition and audition and audition for all these different roles and never booked anything. But as an actor, if a casting person continues to bring you in, you know you're doing a good job. Because every audition is 50% an audition for that role and 50% an audition for the next audition. It's when they stop calling you in that you know that you're not doing well. And I have to tell that to my students. It's like, are you seeing the same casting directors over and over again? Yes, all the time. Then you're killing it. But they just haven't found the peg hole that you fit into yet. Just keep going. I auditioned for a show called Army Wives, I think 14, 15 times, never booked the show. I know a guy that auditioned 27 times, never booked the show. Just didn't work out. So anyway, after 5 years, 6 years of auditioning, they finally found a role that I worked for. And after looking back at all the roles that I did read for that I could tell which ones they were, Gavin is the perfect role for me. I'm like, that's me. That's pretty much like what I'm like.
Can I pause for one quick
Yeah.
second? Is that recording?
Yes.
Okay, I recorded, Seth Gilliam.
Yeah.
I interviewed him in Toronto Comic Con.
Didn't have it on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
For the last 3 minutes, I've been like basically crying inside, going, "Please, God, please, God, please."
I could see you kind of glazed over there. For a
Yeah,
second.
I realized like the blood drained from my
It's like,
face because
did we
not
turn the
again.
camera on?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
That's okay.
I wanted to talk just briefly about, and outside because I know you're busy, and you have people waiting down there for you. You talked about working with, you only got to talk about it for just a minute down there, about working with Tom Cruise, because that was a big budget Hollywood blockbuster. And that's,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
he saw it.
I don't know about a Hollywood blockbuster, but it was a big budget.
Tom Cruise in the movie generally, like,
Yes.
brings the heat,
Yes.
And you just got to be in rarefied circles, as it were, So
That was pretty cool.
You're in this giant show, Walking Dead, so you get to, you get the sci-fi bona fides from doing that. and that puts you in a stream of like, hey, like I can go to conventions, I can talk to people, I can have an industry,
Yeah.
I work in the sci-fi industry, but then you go and do a big budget film that's not sci-fi at all, and then you go and do like the show where you're playing the killer and the child molesting killer in the show we're talking
Yeah,
about.
Rectify. Yeah.
Rectify. So you really have a good range,
Thank you.
and the movie we get to see you as sort of comic relief and. So
Yeah.
you really touched on everything. Like you're right now you're in a good place.
I
think.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree, agents of Los Angeles. Please watch this tape. I love my agent, Alex. You're great, but I need an LA rep. Yeah.
Look, I see it. Well, I think unless you wanted to mention, what do you have on what's coming up? Do you have any things you want to plug or?
Well, I'm producing and acting in a play this summer in Atlanta in a very small theater. It holds 55 people in the audience. We'll do 3 or 4 or 5 weeks of it on the weekends. It's called Blackbird. It's myself and an actress, small cast, small budget, and then there's a younger person that's in it for just a few pages, and then like a 12-year-old girl, and then so that's happening. So if you're in Atlanta, August 3rd through early September, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be doing Blackbird at the Robert Mello Studio in Doraville, Georgia. Come and see the show. I shot I worked on a pilot as an actor called Salvage for ABC, and it stars Will Patton, Jim Belushi are the big names, and then a bunch of young, good-looking actors and actresses that are the pretty people. And hopefully it'll get picked up as a series, and if it does, I'll have a recurring role in that for a while if they don't replace me with a bigger name or something.
The upfronts you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the upfronts are in May in New York, and once that's when they decide what goes forward and what gets canned. And so I've never been in a pilot. This is my first experience with a pilot, so I just try to forget about it, because I can't count those chickens right now. So I've been auditioning. I've got matter of fact, Randy Havens, who's here, is going to help me tape an audition tonight in the hotel room for a movie about Ernie Banks that Louis Gossett Jr. is going to be starring in. And it's a great role for me, but I don't know if I can, if I'll get it or not. But I've got a lot of work to do tonight, tape that audition in the hotel room and send it off. Hopefully they'll bring me in for a callback.
Well, I honestly hope all the best. I mean, I really appreciate that you
My
actually gave your
pleasure.
time.
Yeah.
Have fun. I actually don't know how to close these things out when I do them, but
Yeah.
just thank you for taking the time to meet with us.
My
and
pleasure.
Enjoy your time in Cornwall.
I will.
And Canada,
I will.
for that matter.
Unfortunately, it's a very brief amount of time, but I will do the best I can.
Sure. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
See you around, man. Thanks.
Thank you for watching the Convention Junkies coverage of the 2018 Cornwall and area POF event. Please like, comment and subscribe to see more. If you would like to help us with future projects, please visit our Patreon page.